The battlefield transformed from trenches to terror from the skies. The very nature of warfare was about to undergo a seismic shift. Before the air raid, warfare was a terrestrial affair. Armies clashed on battlefields, strategies focused on terrain, and victory was measured in miles gained. The ground was the primary theater of war, where every inch of land was contested fiercely. Soldiers fought face to face, the horrors of war contained within the trenches and battle lines. The mud, the barbed wire, and the constant threat of enemy fire defined their existence. The rules were brutal, but understood. The battlefield was defined, the enemy visible. There was a grim predictability to the chaos. The advent of the airplane in the early 20th century changed everything. These new machines brought a new dimension to warfare. At first, these flimsy machines were relegated to reconnaissance, their bird's-eye view offering a new perspective on the battlefield. They provided valuable intelligence, mapping enemy positions and movements, but the potential for destruction was quickly realized. The skies, once a domain of observation, became a platform for devastation. Bombs, initially crude and inaccurate, were soon developed into deadly weapons. Engineers and scientists worked tirelessly to increase their precision and lethality. The first air raids were sporadic, experimental. Pilots and strategists were learning the new art of aerial warfare, yet they hinted at a terrifying new era of warfare. The ground was no longer the only battleground. No longer were armies safe behind fortifications or lines on a map. The sky had become a new front, unpredictable and omnipresent. The sky, once a source of solace, was now a conduit for terror. Civilians and soldiers alike had to look upwards with dread. This shift from the battlefield to the bomber's crosshairs marked a fundamental change in the nature of war. The enemy could strike from above, with little warning. The rules were rewritten, the boundaries redrawn. Strategies had to evolve to counter this new threat from the skies. The battlefield expanded to encompass entire nations, bringing the horrors of war directly to the civilian population. Cities and towns became targets. No longer could non-combatants be considered separate from the conflict. The distinction between soldier and civilian blurred. The air raid, in its terrifying totality, ushered in the era of total war. The impact was profound, reshaping the very fabric of society and warfare. The dawn of a new era. The whir of propellers, the shadow of fear. The First World War provided a brutal testing ground for this new form of warfare. Initially used for reconnaissance, airplanes quickly evolved into weapons of war. The skies above the trenches became a new battleground, with dogfights between biplanes a common sight. The bombing of cities, while still in its infancy, offered a chilling glimpse into the future of warfare. The raids were often inaccurate, the bombs themselves primitive. Yet the psychological impact was undeniable. The civilian population for the first time was vulnerable to direct attack from the air. The interwar years saw rapid advancements in aircraft technology. Planes became faster, more maneuverable, and capable of carrying heavier bomb loads. Military strategists, recognizing the potential of air power, began to incorporate air raids into their war plans. The stage was set for the devastating air campaigns of World War II. The air raid siren, a sound that would become synonymous with terror, became a chilling part of daily life. The vulnerability of cities to attack from above was brutally exposed. The air raid, once a novelty of war, had become a terrifying and tragically effective weapon. Total war breaking the boundaries of the battlefield. Air raids shattered the traditional boundaries of warfare. No longer were battles confined to distant front lines. With the advent of long-range bombers, entire countries became battlefields. Civilian populations, once considered separate from the fighting, were now directly in the crosshairs. This new form of warfare, dubbed total war, blurred the lines between combatants and non-combatants. Factories, transportation hubs, and even residential areas became strategic targets. The goal was no longer simply to defeat the enemy's army, but to cripple their ability to wage war. Air raids were a key component of this strategy. By targeting industrial centers and infrastructure, air power could cripple an enemy's war machine. The psychological impact on civilian morale was also a significant factor. The constant threat of air raids, the terror from the skies, aimed to break the enemy's will to fight. This new era of total war raised complex moral and ethical questions. The bombing of cities, while strategically justified by some, resulted in massive civilian casualties. The debate over the morality of such tactics continues to this day, a stark reminder of the profound impact air raids have had on the conduct of war. cities under siege, the human cost of strategic bombing. The impact of air raids on civilian life was devastating. Cities, once centers of culture and commerce, were transformed into targets. The relentless bombing campaigns of World War II left a trail of destruction across Europe and Asia. The Blitz, the sustained German bombing campaign against Britain, exemplified the horrors inflicted on civilian populations. Night after night, German bombers rained explosives on London and other major cities. Homes were destroyed, families torn apart, and lives lost. The psychological toll was immeasurable. The constant threat of air raids, the piercing wail of sirens, and the scramble for safety in underground shelters created a climate of fear and uncertainty. The trauma inflicted on civilians, particularly children, had long-lasting effects. The bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945 brought the terrifying potential of air power into sharp focus. The atomic bombs, unlike anything seen before, instantly killed tens of thousands of people and left a legacy of radiation poisoning. These attacks marked a turning point in human history, ushering in the nuclear age and its terrifying possibilities. A world at war, examining the impact of air raids through history. Air raids have been a significant aspect of warfare, shaping the course of conflicts and leaving indelible marks on the cities and people affected. To understand the transformative impact of air raids, we must examine specific historical examples. These events highlight not only the immediate destruction, but also the long-term consequences on societies and nations. The London Blitz, a relentless German bombing campaign during World War II, provides a chilling illustration. The nightly bombings forced civilians to adapt to a new, terrifying reality. From September 1940 to May 1941, the Luftwaffe, Germany's air force, subjected London and other British cities to nightly air raids. The constant threat of bombings created an atmosphere of fear and uncertainty. Over 8 months, London endured over 70 raids with over 40,000 civilians killed and countless others injured. The destruction was immense, with entire neighborhoods reduced to rubble. The Blitz, while failing to break the British spirit, caused widespread destruction and forever altered the landscape of the city. The resilience of the British people became a symbol of defiance against tyranny. It also revealed the limitations of strategic bombing, as the raids ultimately failed to cripple Britain's war effort. Factories continued to produce war materials, and the British resolve only strengthened. The Allied bombing of Dresden, Germany in February 1945 offers another stark example. The city, known for its cultural and architectural heritage, was transformed into a scene of devastation. Over 3 days and nights, Allied bombers unleashed a firestorm that destroyed the historic city center and killed an estimated 25,000 people. The scale of destruction was unprecedented. The Dresden bombing remains controversial, with questions about its military necessity and the proportionality of the attack. Historians continue to debate the ethical implications of such a devastating assault. These examples, while just a glimpse into the vast human toll of air raids, illustrate their devastating impact on warfare and civilian populations. The scars left by these bombings are still visible today, both physically and in collective memory. The strategic use of air power, while undoubtedly effective in achieving military objectives, came at a terrible price. The human cost of these operations serves as a sobering reminder of the horrors of war and the resilience of those who endure it. The legacy of the air raid, a changed world forever. The echoes of those bombings still resonate today, a haunting reminder of the past. The air raid, a product of 20th century technological advancement, forever changed the face of warfare. It was a grim testament to human ingenuity turned towards destruction. It shattered the illusion of safety behind battle lines, bringing the horrors of war directly to civilian populations. No longer were the front lines confined to distant battlefields. The war was now at everyone's doorstep. The world, once vast and seemingly impenetrable, suddenly felt much smaller. The skies above no longer a source of comfort, but a conduit for terror. The constant threat of an unseen enemy from above changed the way people lived their daily lives. The legacy of the air raid continues to shape military doctrine and global politics. Strategies evolved, and nations began to prioritize air defense systems and early warning mechanisms. The development of nuclear weapons, a direct result of advancements in air power, ushered in the nuclear age and the constant threat of global annihilation. The stakes of warfare had never been higher. The doctrine of mutually assured destruction, or MAD, emerged, a chilling reminder of the stakes in a world where entire cities could be vaporized in an instant. This precarious balance of power defined international relations for decades. The air raid, while a terrifying chapter in human history, also spurred technological innovation. The race for air superiority led to breakthroughs that would shape the future. The push for faster, more maneuverable aircraft and more accurate bombing systems led to advancements in aviation and related fields. These innovations had far-reaching impacts beyond the battlefield. The jet engine, radar technology, and even the early precursors to the internet can trace their roots back to research and development spurred by the need for technological superiority in the air. These advancements laid the groundwork for modern technology. While the nature of warfare continues to evolve, the air raid remains a potent symbol of the destructive power of technology and the devastating consequences of total war. It serves as a stark reminder of the cost of conflict. The lessons learned from the air raids of the 20th century serve as a stark reminder of the importance of diplomacy, the need for international cooperation, and the ever-present pursuit of peace in a world forever changed by the shadow of the bomber. The hope is that these lessons will guide future generations towards a more peaceful and secure world.